watching a clip from Destiny, and he was like, "When's the last time Twitch added something that you were excited about?" Right? It's not even that it's stagnant.
Yeah.
Which, as a website, it's been mostly stagnant for the last 6 years. But it's actually worse than stagnant because every time they do change something, it's only a detriment. At least if it was stagnant, you're like,
Yeah.
I rely on this thing, but
They've just been like doing this incremental stuff with the chat, like adding the ability to reply directly to people, just kind of cool, and a few little things with emotes and channel points and stuff that's kind of neat.
But then they keep
But
doing all
like,
these UI overhauls that just make everything worse than they were before because you were used to the old UI, and it's like, why?
they got rid of friends or seeing what friends are watching.
Friends were great.
Yeah, because I mean, half the time I would find new VTubers by seeing what my friends were watching, and I'd go and like say hi and be like, "Oh, this is a new streamer I'd never heard of." But not anymore. But they did add like shout outs and stuff, like a bunch of stuff that people were using Nightbot for.
Yeah.
They built into the system, but I mean, it's not. That's pretty weak. Pretty weak sauce. Interestingly, YouTube has been adding all the stuff that's been in Twitch for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a big deal because it's never been in YouTube, so it seems like they're doing a lot more.
Yeah, like you can, which I don't know where you do it. There's probably in like the YouTube studio moderation room or whatever. But you can actually like raid people on YouTube now.
Yeah,
like, that's been a thing you could do for like the last month or so.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
I only found that out because I was watching Pippa, and she's like, "Let's just raid something." He's like, "Wait, you're on YouTube."
Yeah. Yeah, she did. Yeah, I'll be watching Pippa typically and like forget about it and like leave, and I'll come back and it's some other channel. I'm like, oh, what happened?
Yeah, that happened to me too. I went take the dog for a walk one night, and I came back and it's like, oh, I don't know how this came on.
Yeah.
Speaking of watching Pippa, since we were talking about before we came on, AI being able to basically do ADR, but also changing like the facial expressions to make it look like it had always been that way. I was watching one of her streams, and there's this really weird thing where they got like video footage, like cropped out video footage of people, and the AI was matching the voice bank to the movements of the people. So they had like famous people roasting anyone who like super chatted in. I think it was called Athene AI, which I have no idea if it's the streamer Athene that has anything to do with it, but I would assume so. But it was like AOC was roasting people, Donald Trump, Bill Burr, George Carlin. The Carlin roasts, oh my God, those were the most vicious. It actually felt like the person was roasting them to some degree. Like, it felt a little off. You're like, no, I mean, if it was them, it'd be smoother. They wouldn't repeat the same stuff over and over. I think it became more apparent with the comedians like Carlin and Bill Burr. And that's because being a comedian is a very witty, quick, and creative job. So if you're going to see the downside of an AI, those are going to people you'll recognize it in. But like AOC and Trump, because they mostly just say nonsense anyway, it felt just like they were saying it.
Yeah, I saw she was doing one where it was like I guess Trump, Biden, and Obama arguing about Dragon Ball Z or something, or some anime, and you know what, typical anime conversation about who's more powerful or whatever.
Yeah. I was watching a series, and it was like, it was all different people. It wasn't the same user, but because of like the nature of the AI and stuff, and because people watch each other's videos, it's like you could go from one to the other, and it would continue the story despite the fact that it was different users. And it was like former presidents and Biden, he was current president, but it was just like presidents hanging out doing things. It started off playing video games, but then at some point they went to like Disneyland together and stuff like that. It was a weird trip because the story just almost picked up right where the last one left off. again, despite different users. I'm like, this is insane. We've entered a hellscape. We've entered an AI hellscape. It's entertaining now, but it's going to be horrible very, very soon.
Well, this thing that I showed you before we went live, where they're changing the mouth to match the words.
Yeah.
I mean, think of the evil that can be done with that. I mean, it looked so real.
And obviously it's designed for good purposes. Like, oh, cool, we could dub movies in other languages and it seems natural, like it was always filmed in that language. But like, God, the deep faking, it's going to be at this point that like, and it should have been like this for a while, but if you see a video, you just have to disregard it. Like, okay, it's entertainment. That's all you can look at any video as. You can't see it as proof anymore.
Yeah, you can no longer say, I saw it with my own eyes or I heard it with my own ears.
Unless you're in person, then you could say you did.
Video. Video lies.
It's we're finally catching the point where, like, you remember Photoshop, like really, really early on the internet, everybody was photoshopping things. And because the resolution was so bad on files you could upload, you couldn't even tell if something was photoshopped. You could tell if somebody like fucked around in Paint easily because it was janky. But like back when you could only upload a photo that was like 400 pixels wide, you couldn't tell that something was photoshopped. You just assumed everything was because people had access to this stuff. It's going to be like that again.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome to the Vomitorium, everyone. Now that we've ruined your day by making you think about the horrible future we're running into, as always, I'm your host, The Metal, and joining me is my co-host, Merciful Gamer. How you doing today?
Pretty good. I've spent this week making phone calls to my insurance company.
I heard you've been having
Let me tell you.
such a rough time when it comes to like apartment hunting and your credit and stuff like that due to past experiences.
Oh, well, there's that too. I mean, gosh, this has been the week of, I don't know what you call it. I'm doing errands, life related errands. Well, I found out more about insurance than I ever wanted to know. And because Peach was on this other insurance and then I switched her over to mine, but there was some overlap, and then they're like, well, which is the primary and which is the secondary? And God damn it. Just pay the bills, will you? But yes, I had to get creative. I'm ready to move. I'm not packed quite yet, but I'm like, I've saved up the money. I'm ready. I just have to find an apartment and I have to get a little bit creative. Because
I'm always ready to move.
I had a business that failed back in 2017. I guess it continued on, but fully failed basically when COVID hit, and it just all my clients disappeared. And the business had some loans that fell onto me, and because of that, I can't rent an apartment. Because they're like, you have all these bills that you haven't paid. I'm like, there's no way I can pay this. It's like, I mean, I will, but it'll take years. But apparently there are apartments that don't do credit checks.
Especially
I'm
if you
exploring
second chance
options.
Apartments, anything that accepts Section 8. I'm fully aware. I've been in plenty of
Well, I'm trying to find one that's in a decent, that's decent.
Well, so like sometimes you can, because some things are actually really good, but they hold a stigma, and that's why like the price and everything's low. Like there was this one, I don't know why we never went into it.
I don't even care about the price, too.
No, but like the explanation, there was one where for some reason it was slightly cheaper than the apartment we were renting. It was just inconvenient for us to move at the time, but we should have went to it. And it was like a 3 or 4 bedroom apartment that was cheaper than the 1 bedroom apartment we were splitting. And the reason it was so cheap is because like a bunch of Islamic Arabs were living, like that was the whole apartment. They seemed like nice people. There was like, it wasn't like crime or anything. It's just nobody wanted to live in a building for some reason with a bunch of Islamic Arabs. So the price was like really, really low. And I'm like, man, we should really hop on this thing. But sometimes something just carries a stigma, and that's why the price is low. Because location is partially culture. So if somebody doesn't want to live somewhere, then the price drops. Supply and demand.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, the prices are through the roof right now, which is ridiculous, but I can afford more, especially if I'm moving to Arizona, I'll be paying less taxes. Alabama, believe it or not, is actually one of the highest income tax states in the country, other than like New York and California. And Arizona is one of the lowest, other
all of
than
them are
zero.
New Jersey. New Jersey somehow actually beats California out.
Wow.
Mostly, I blame.
Well, Alabama's like Alabama's like in the top 15 or something.
Oh yeah, it's up there.
Terrible. And so I can afford it. Plus, I just got a raise at my job, and so I'm like, I can totally afford it, and I can even give like a bigger deposit if they need me to. I've saved up money. I'm all ready to go. And the first couple of places were just like, nope, there's just no, they're corporate, you know?
Yeah.
And so they whatever the computer tells them, the computer says, you don't pass this criteria, therefore we can't do it. Just absolutely not. And I'm like, there's no negotiation. Like I can't explain. No. So anyway, first world problems, I guess.
Yeah. No, trust me. I've been in plenty situations because of family credit history. One of the last apartments we lived in, it was either check or money order. We were surprised it didn't take cash, but they were like, listen, we can't take cash, but like many people, you can just run down the street to the Quick Trip, get a couple money orders, and pay it that way.
Yeah.
See, we got Joshua Hughes in the chat. We got Flit and Buck, all our good friends to the channel. Flit thinks you can literally buy an entire residential block in Detroit for $50. Probably. I mean, Detroit's honestly not even like the worst place in the U.S. anymore. It used to be like the punching bag. I mean, Gary, Indiana's been worse for quite a while. Chicago's probably even worse than that now. It's been trending that way for a few decades now. I can pick a lot of places worse than Detroit, and it's really sad that you can find plenty of places worse than Detroit.
Birmingham, Alabama has the third worst murder or third highest murder rate in the country.
That doesn't shock me.
And although I think Detroit is number 2. I think the number 1 is New Orleans. But
that also doesn't shock me. Yeah.
Birmingham is number 3. I was like, when I read that, I was like, oh shit, that's why I hear gunshots outside.
Well, I know mass shooting rate, Chicago beats everyone, but that's mostly gang violence. And
but the thing is,
our modern definition of mass shooting is if 4 or more people get injured, they don't even have to die.
Yeah, and plus their population is so high that it's, although the rate is actually not that high. It's just, murder, it happens a lot.
It's really low because of how high the population. Mass shooting, though, it's actually really high.
Sure. Yeah. But with Birmingham,
you don't have to die for a mass shooting, you know. Somebody can get clipped in a drive-by.
Oh, yeah. But Birmingham's population is shrinking. It has been shrinking for years because of the crime rate, and the education is terrible. Everything's terrible. The tax rate is high. So the fact that we have such a low population and a high murder rate, it's not good.
Fuck's like, bitch stole my residential block. Can't have shit in Detroit.
Yes, Joshua said he would be happy to co-sign for me. That's good. Apparently, I don't know, this was a weird thing. A co-signer has to earn like 5 times the monthly rent in order to be a co-signer. Yeah. I don't know if that's a law, but it seems like all the apartments say the same thing. So
that is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it really is. There was something else. What else was I gonna? Oh yeah, I think I tweeted about like the first place I looked at wanted to charge me $300 just to apply. Like I actually had to put down 400, and if they denied me, they'd give me back 100.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's ridiculous. So the second place I found ended up being $55. But
Yeah, that seems like standard. I've seen a lot of like anywhere between 35 to 50-ish, like,
yeah,
but
because that's just like the cost of a credit report and a background check, and
Yeah.
that I understand. But they were going to charge me ultimately $300. It's like, fuck that.
most of the places I've lived don't pay anything
Yeah.
because they don't do the background check. It's just like, can you show me a pay stub or something? I just want to make sure you have the income. It's like, here. It's like,
Right?
okay,
Well, how do you find these? That's what I need. I'm like,
well, one,
I can
I'm
show
in
you.
Texas,
Okay.
so that's a big difference.
I can show you a dozen paychecks. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been at the same job for over 2 years. I can show you plenty of pay stubs.
And again,
but,
like I said, a lot of it qualifies as second chance housing, so
yeah,
it's where beggars can't be choosers.
I guess, yeah. I guess I'm looking in the hoity-toity areas of Tempe, Arizona. a little too close to Scottsdale, where
Oh, Scottsdale.
extremely hoity-toity.
Yeah.
So, oh well. Enough of my problems.
Close to where my aunt used to live. She had a really, really nice place out there.
Yeah,
The problem was, it was Arizona, so we never wanted to step foot outside the place.
yeah, yeah. If I don't move soon, I'm going to be moving in 110
the worst
degree
time of the
heat.
year.
I mean, I'm serious. For a while there, I was like, April 1st, I'm moving, but I still can't find a place. So maybe
Buck's
it'll be
family
May,
almost
I don't
did the opposite. When I was still living with them, they were originally, his mom wanted to move to Minnesota in the winter, and everybody's like, no, you can wait till spring.
Yeah, well, last time I moved there, it was October, I believe,
Yeah.
and it was nice. It was perfect weather. So I better hurry up.
Yeah,
If
Arizona.
anyone has
if I was moving to
an
Arizona,
apartment.
winter would be a perfect time to move to Arizona. I'd be fine with that. Nice. Oof. Yeah.
Well, the fall's nice too. I mean,
Yeah.
it really only just gets hot in July and August.
Unlike here, where it's already getting hot.
Yeah.
It was a cooler day at 81 degrees, which is very comfortable for me. Not so much my computer. I had my fan on it earlier because it keeps jumping between like 50 and 80. I think we're actually going to go into our normal spring weather, which means we're probably going to be in the mid 80s to mid 90s for quite a while. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice out here right now. Buck says the only problem with his move was his brother-in-law and his idiot friend. Several things broken and others that it's a miracle they weren't.
Yeah. I told them, at least for packing things up and loading onto the truck, that they should have called me. I would have come back over. I probably would have done a much better job on that. I know he basically had to do almost all of the unpacking, like getting it off of their moving truck and stuff by himself, pretty much.
Last time I moved to a house when I was married, our moving truck broke down and it had to be towed to the house. And of course, when you tow it, it tilts up and like a whole bunch of shit was broken. It was ridiculous.
See, this is why pods are great, the innovation of pods, because if the thing carrying the pod broke down, you could just get the pod off of that onto a new delivery thing without having to mess anything up.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do the U-Haul thing because I got a V8 pickup truck, so I think I'm just gonna hitch it to the back and just drive it myself.
Yeah, anything that's not directly connected to the vehicle, like a trailer, a pod, or anything like that, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But like, long distance, those trucks break down.
Yeah, I just need to get my oil changed.
Yeah.
So what's new?
What's new? We got a lot of new things going on. A couple of them we were talking about before, but we can always talk about some of the more fun things first. Here's a little quick thing. The 8-bit DOE controllers are now fully compatible with Apple devices. Should be exciting for you since you have Apple devices.
Honestly, I've never had a problem. I've connected it up to my iPhone. I've connected it to my Mac.
Well, apparently they technically were not compatible before. right? They were just being
Okay.
treated like any generic Bluetooth controller.
Hmm.
Now they're like fully compatible. They recognize that it is an 8-bit DOE controller with like
Is that like a driver update?
yeah.
Oh, cool.
And it
Well,
is
good, I
considered
guess.
one of the ideal controllers for cloud gaming now.
Yeah. I did find it indispensable when I was playing. What was it, Fantasian,
Yeah.
on the phone, because I hate the touchscreen controls, but with that thing, it was great.
There you go, Marsupial. Just live in the Amazon pod. Wagey, getting the cagey.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, just get a pod and just live in there. Sounds good. Just tell
I
them
think
to
I'd
put
rather
it,
go
put it
old school,
in storage.
like a Winnebago or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I guess I could put a mattress in the back of my pickup truck and just
Yeah.
sleep back there.
Remember a while ago there was all these like van life videos and stuff going on, like it was being a big trend, and everybody was like, this has to be some type of propaganda, and maybe it was. I'm not gonna say it wasn't. I think it was just the fact that like trends seem to coincide with each other. But I always found that very appealing. I'm like, most people shouldn't live in a van, but I come from like a very, very nomadic family who can't really sit still. And when I'm like, man, I would love a van that I can live out of. Maybe not permanently. It'd be nice to have an HQ, but one that I could just like go long distances and not have to worry about having a roof over my head at any random point in time. Like just a really good van.
When this van's a rockin', don't come a knocking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're hot, you can join in. I mean,
Okay.
oh, girls only though. That's gonna be a sign too. Only knock
Yeah.
if you're a chick. But
Well,
yeah,
did you want to briefly touch on the lawsuit dismissal?
yes, we could touch on that one first. So, we were talking about it before. Probably what was it, 3-4 months ago when this came up? I don't remember when it first came up, but Justin Roiland found himself in some trouble due to somebody claiming a domestic violence case against him. It was 1 count of domestic battery with a corporal injury and 1 count of false imprisonment. So, you know. And he's cleared because there wasn't any real evidence against him. That's insufficient evidence. As expected. It was like one of those crazy Me Too things. And I was a little upset about this because I actually was enjoying Rick and Morty. There was like a dip, but like that last season was pretty good. I'm like, okay, maybe it'll be, getting back better to the trend that it was. It's nowhere near the genius show the idiots try to claim, but it's funny. And that's what really matters for a comedy, is that it's funny. And he was kicked off of it because of this. And now we don't know if he's going to be allowed back on or not. But he did say, here's his full statement. I've always known that these claims were false, and I never had any doubt that this day would come. I am thankful that this case has been dismissed, but at the same time, I'm still deeply shaken by the horrible lies that were reported and about me during the process. Most of all, I am disappointed that so many people were so quick to judge without knowing the facts, based solely on the word of an embittered ex trying to bypass due process and have me canceled. That it may have succeeded, even partially, is shameful. However, now that the legal case has ended, I am determined to move forward and focus on both my creative projects and restoring my good name. So, even if they don't let him back on Rick and Morty, it does at least seem like he wants to continue with creative projects. I know he had another show on Hulu that he got booted off of as well, which was Solar Opposites, I believe was the name of it. It was about like aliens, that there was like another Earth on the other side of the sun in our orbit that we never knew about, and they came over. But he basically got kicked from everything he was working on, even like the game that came out that he narrated and helped create. God, what was it, like High on Life or something was the name of it? I don't remember. But like, he was off of all projects. But if he's a creative person, as I am, I know how creative people are. he's probably got like 10 projects sitting in his back pocket that he's waiting to work on anyway.
Mm. I'm looking at the replies to his tweet, and apparently there were some DMs of him sexting with teenagers as well.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't know either.
One, it's really easy to fake DMs. Like, really, really easy. Especially if you just know how to pull up the inspect tool.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I don't know. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. That's not what he was in court for.
Again?
Though. So you'd have to call the police, get him arrested on accounts of, I don't know, getting sexually involved with a minor. I guess that's the account there, and then see what turns out of it. But like, yeah, probably I'm just a lot of this stuff has been coming out. Has been fake. So
yeah, I'm perusing the replies, and it looks like it's a mixture of, you know, of course, people saying, "Oh, they just didn't have enough evidence, but we know you did it anyway," and some people applauding, and some people saying the thing about the sexting, and yeah, you know, Twitter's terrible.
Yeah. Well, you have to understand like how insufficient the evidence would have to be. He had a pre-trial hearing with another one that was scheduled. This didn't even actually make it to actual trial. They didn't make it to actual discovery. This was just based on the claims, and there was insufficient evidence there.
Yeah. In the U.S., you're innocent until proven guilty, and he has not been proven guilty, so therefore he's innocent. Hey, he wasn't ratioed, at least. He's got almost 9,000 likes, so I guess that tells you the sentiment.
I hate the way that people word it. Additionally, the Orange County District Attorney's Office ruling did not rule Roiland's innocence, only that there was not enough evidence to prove the case either way. It's like, but again, it's
you're already innocent,
proven guilty. Yeah.
And
anyone who's in court is innocent until the case proves otherwise. That's how our system works.
Yeah. I've never heard of a prosecutor that proved somebody's innocence.
Yeah.
That has never happened in the history of the country. All you did was
disprove somebody's guilt. That's the process.
Right. Yeah. I love how they're like, well, they didn't prove his innocence. Yeah. Neither has any other prosecutor ever.
Yeah. Well, also, the prosecutor would actually just be disproving the innocence, right? It's the defense that's disproving the guilt. But, the term you actually use is you withheld your innocence because that's what you already have.
Of course, you know, him being a believe all women, you know, feminist leftist, I didn't have a whole lot of sympathy, but
well, no, you know,
it doesn't change the fact that
where I thought it could go either way, honestly, because I obviously not knowing him personally, it's hard to say, but judging by the type of humor that he writes and the fact that he's kind of like a feminist, I'm like, he doesn't strike me as the type of guy that would, but also at the same time, like I wouldn't have been shocked whichever outcome happened.
And I didn't mean to say that I thought that it was true. I just meant that even if it wasn't, it's hard to be sympathetic to someone who would have canceled anyone else for the same, you know, with the same level of proof. But, you know, I guess it's good that.
Well, hopefully this will change his mind. As we've seen with a lot of people who go through this process, getting canceled or almost canceled themselves, they usually have like a big flip because it was like an eye opener for them. So.
Yeah, that guy from Popcorn Planet, forget what his name is. He kind of had a bit of a come to Jesus moment when something similar happened to him. I forget what his name is, but maybe someone in the chat knows. But yeah, we were actually talking earlier about so what happens to the woman? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, like where's the repercussions here?
Yeah,
where's the recompense?
I don't even know what her name was or anything. So, yeah.
Honestly, for somebody like Roiland, the repercussion is probably getting to flip her off. Like, haha, bitch.
Yeah, true. But for people who manage to, you know, fully cancel somebody on false accusations.
Yeah, you're talking about the one where the chick came out and just like said she lied. Like,
Oh, right. I forgot about that, actually. What was that? Oh, yeah, I can't remember the names offhand. But John Delarose did a video earlier today about somebody in the tabletop community who was summarily canceled, kicked out of everything, kicked out of cons and communities and chat rooms and everything because some woman accused him of sexual harassment or something. And she just today came out and said, "Oh no, actually, I made that all up." Like she issued a statement saying it was all a lie.
Yeah.
What happens to her? Probably nothing. But yeah, I don't remember the name. You'd have to go on John's channel, check that out. Not right now.
Yeah, no. You're watching this right now. You're staying here.
That's right.
That's the rule.
That's right.
I'm putting my foot down. I'm sitting. My feet are actually already down.
So have you watched any Diablo 4?
I have not.
Stuff?
Well, stuff. I haven't seen any gameplay. I've seen Asmongold talk about it a few times, and he's one of the few people I'm like, well, I mean, he has played a lot of Diablo, so he's probably going to have at least an okay take on Diablo 4.
Yeah, it seems like it's hard to tell still because they've only released, I mean, for the beta, you can only do Act 1,
20, right?
You can only do 20 or 25 levels, something like that. But it is clearly much simpler than Path of Exile, which I think was the goal, is to make it a lot more accessible. So that's actually good for me because, like I've said before, the reason I never play WoW again and may not play Diablo 3 again is because it just got too complicated and it's just I can't.
It feels like
So
they're trying to sell to mostly normies, but like just the widest possible net, which is probably going to help them in the short term. It probably hurt them in the long term. Because one of the things Asmon was complaining about, and I've been seeing some stuff on Twitter about it, is that it doesn't seem promising right now for the type of endgame content that usually pulls Diablo players to it. Because it burned you out, but a lot of people, that's actually the thing they go to the game for,
Yeah. Well, yeah, so you reminded me, I did watch a video where he was reviewing another video where they were talking about how the dungeons are not procedurally generated, which was one of the big complaints about Diablo 3, was that they're very samey and they're the same every time. They're not generated like they were in Diablo 2. And they were thinking like, okay, this is going to get repetitive real fast, just like 3 did. And if they don't mix things up in Acts 3 and 4 or 2, 3, and 4, it's going to be a problem. So yeah, and I guess the bosses are just, they don't, didn't seem very interesting, but it's hard to tell because it's only Act 1. So we'll see.
Yeah, we will see.
Yeah, they got away from the procedurally generated dungeons, which is weird.
Everyone seems to be getting away from procedurally generated stuff, except for Minecraft. It's like the only place.
Yeah. I mean, 1 and 2, that was their big pull, was every time you played it, it was different. And then they didn't do that in 3. Weird.
It actually gave me an idea of like how to solve MMOs long term, right? Because basically what everybody wants to do now is they want to make their MMO a theme park, right, to try to keep people around. It's like, we'll give you, like, it's like the Final Fantasy 14 tactic. We'll give you a deep story you can go into, and then everything else is kind of like a theme park. Even the dungeons you're rerunning, it's like going on Space Mountain for the 100th time. You just know it by now, but you remember it, so you're going back through it. And I'm like, that's boring. It's very boring. But also, even playing an old MMO that you've played before, it's kind of boring to run around because you can't rerun dungeons in that way. Most of them are part of the open world. There's a few instance stuff you can rerun, but it's just like there's no replayability. So I was thinking of something similar to procedural generation. I was thinking that in 14 they've got these deep dungeons, which are basically just putting a roguelike into the game, and it made me think, is like, yeah, but I played a game that did this very well. It was, have you ever played any of the mystery dungeon games?
I'm familiar with them, but
Yeah,
I've never
like
played one.
usually Mystery Dungeon is something that there's a team that makes them, and some other company will come to them to license their property. So there's like the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, there's Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon, there's a bunch of different ones, right? And the way they are roguelike games, so you level up your characters, you go through different dungeons, and sometimes you'll even have like a quest going through the dungeon. And you even gives the dungeon some replayability, but not all of them are extreme. Like the first dungeon might only have 3 floors in it. And I was thinking, like, why don't people do that for an MMO? Like, you can have your open world area with your different dungeons. And I hate where games will like lock you off from stuff based on the story in an MMO setting. I just want to explore the game. So it's like we could just have it to where all the dungeons are already open from the start at like the level area that they're supposed to be. You could go into them synced or unsynced. Every time you go in, it's a procedurally generated dungeon with the assets and floor count that dungeon should have, with the enemies that should randomly spawn in that dungeon too because of the level that it should have. But then for the story, or other quests, you could have fixed seeds for the dungeon to where if you're carrying the quest and you enter that way, it gives you the seed. So you can have like that big story moment where it's like, oh, this dungeon has this trap set up here this time and this layout, and there's the Chimera boss at the end. And I feel like using a fixed seed system like that solves most of the problems that people have with the replayability of MMO dungeons.
Yeah, so every time you go in after that, it could be a different seed and be a completely different layout.
Yeah, anytime you go in without a quest, it's a randomized seed. But when you go in with the quest for the story, it's got a fixed seed, and that seed has like the cutscenes in it too. So otherwise, you could have it marked these seeds are locked if you like. It can't randomly pull these seeds out. You don't get the cutscenes if you just go into the dungeon otherwise.
Yeah, that would be cool if you could replay a dungeon, but this time different bosses appear and different places, and it's a completely different layout.
Yeah, it's like cool. The dungeons are just roguelites, and the first one can just be 3 floors, right? Like the first dungeon in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, the first 2 floors, and you can have like a boss floor or whatever.
Why hasn't Blizzard thought of this?
Crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, it would greatly increase the playability. I mean, it's been a while, but the last time I played World of Warcraft, like there are multiple dungeons that all have the same layout too.
Yeah.
Just completely different dungeons, but they're completely identical layouts. And I'm like, why is it like this? This is so boring.
It's even worse, right? So when playing Final Fantasy XIV, I really like the A Realm Reborn content, which is like the oldest content in the game, and even like some of the Heavensward content. But after a certain point, they started building the dungeons around how players played them. So they just made every dungeon a hallway instead of people finding the most optimal path. They're like, well, there is only one path. A hallway with 3 bosses, so it's like a hall boss, hall boss, hall boss, with mobs on the way. And it's basically built around wall-to-wall pulls. So sometimes they'll put a wall there because they only want you fighting like 4 mobs at a time. Sometimes you can basically go all the way up to the boss before having to kill everything. And it's just like boring. It's okay for story, but as like a dungeon experience, it sucks. I hate later Final Fantasy XIV dungeon content. The side content is the whole point of playing the game. And one of the side contents they have is the deep dungeon, where they just added another one, Eureka Orthos, and it is a 100-floor roguelike where every 10 floors you fight a boss. And the boss is always the same on the 10th floor, but the layouts of the floors on the way to the boss are randomized every single time you do it. And well, it's a roguelite. You start at level 1 every single time you load in. But like you could do an MMO that is mostly roguelike because it's your character's levels and stuff. And if you want to have like a challenging Pokemon Skypillar deep dungeon that starts you at level 1 every time you enter it, you could do that too. You could have that as like a side thing, end game content or whatever. But yeah, I don't know why people don't do this.
Flit says procedural generation is so 2000. Get with the times, old man.
Yeah.
Hipster hair flip.
He
says gated content is the dumbest thing.
Oh yeah, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Where it's just like
you want to read the last one?
yeah. But it's like the gated content thing is like I have the physical ability. I'm good at sneaking past people right, and not dying, and I made it to this place, but the entrance isn't even there. Like, there's nothing to click on because I haven't progressed that far in the story yet. But I know it's there. I can see it on the map. The thing's there. It's like,
Interesting.
yeah. But yeah, it's like one of the most motivating parts of a game is going to a place, getting in way over your head, then going back to that place later when you're stronger and just wrecking everything. Exactly.
Yeah, again, going back to World of Warcraft, I would go to these dungeons way over leveled because I never liked going in it with groups and just solo them.
Yeah.
Of course, then the loot that you get is shit because you were supposed to do it, 10 levels ago.
And that's like, I think you could still have it. So one of the things I do like about 14 is the level syncing, right? Which 11 did too. But you can level sync anywhere in the whole map after like level 10. You could just level sync down to level 10 with your party. So you could grind smaller mobs and stuff like that. It's actually, they do like burns parties and stuff like that for level grinding. But it makes the dungeons replayable if you have to play it at the level that you have to do it. So it's really good. There's a duty finder now where you can sync up with randos, and you can help people who maybe haven't done the dungeon before but actually enjoy it at the level that it's supposed to be done, instead of having like a really strong guy going through and killing everything in one shot. So I like that idea. And I think, well, you can only do that if the dungeons are instanced, right? You couldn't do that in 11. You'd have to just sync your whole party down to whoever the party leader was. Or I think the party leader could pick anybody in the party. But like you had to level sync for the world, and rerunning dungeons isn't really a thing because dungeons are part of the overworld. And people could still run by over level and kill things. If they're stronger, like they could just range kill something before you had a chance to aggro it and just kill everything in the area and fuck you over if they really wanted to. So you could have that like enjoyment if the area is instanced. So you could have 3 options. You could have like option A is to run it level synced for what the dungeon's built for. Option B could be to go into the random seed unsynced, just at whatever your current level is. And then option C, which wouldn't show up, it would just be, I've got a quest, so I'm entering the seed that the quest is. So instead of like synced or unsynced or whatever, it would pop up quest, and then it would give you the option to run the quest synced or unsynced, right? So are you running a normal dungeon, or are you running it under a quest, would be like the tree before it asks you whether you want to run it synced or unsynced. I think that's the way to do it. MMO creators, contact me. I could solve all your problems.
Too bad they're not talking to you, I guess.
Yeah. Dude, I've just been in this mindset. I've been like troubleshooting people's complaints all week, right? I was in a Twitter DM, and people were complaining about arguing that webtoons aren't comics because they don't do these certain things that you can normally do on a comic page. And man, I gave them like 50, no, that's an exaggeration. I gave them like 12 different options of things you could do in that vertical scroll that still let you achieve the same thing that you do on a normal comic page. Interesting solutions. I even said like, hey, dude, you could take your webtoon. You could have like a little image at the front that's like, hey, kids, turn your phone sideways. We're going on a run, and make your comic a 2D side scroll platformer, basically, where as they scroll, different things happen in the comic. Or I had one where like you could have multiple stories going on at the same time, and you're writing it like sheet music, like chords or whatever. Sometimes they happen to intersect. Sometimes it's just like different. Like there's all kinds of things you could do to make it comic-y and not just images that you're scrolling. But people don't want to troubleshoot. They just want to complain.
Mm-hmm. It's more fun.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. To me, it's fun to try to like, you gave me a box. Let me figure out what I can do with this box.
Yeah.
I can tell you a box that they have no idea what to do with, and that's called Twitch.tv. I guess, is it still Twitch TV or is it Twitch.com? I forget if it used to be Justin TV at one point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Twitch.com.
Were we talking about that offline? I can't remember.
We were talking.
We were offline.
There. They laid off over 400 people, and the CEO is stepping down. Emmett Shear, who has been the CEO for 16 years.
Now, is that a man? That's a man, right?
I'm assuming. I've
Emmett?
never met a woman named Emmett. I'm sure you could
Yeah.
be a woman named Emmett. I've just never met one.
I was going to say, I mean, did he step down? Because that's a long time to be CEO, or did they fire him or ask him to resign or whatever?
It just says it's stepping down.
Yeah. I mean, might be just like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. Well,
But
I mean,
also,
the revenue
how many
growth
other people?
has been decreasing.
Yeah. Maybe Bezos said, I think now's a good time for you to retire. Probably gets a golden parachute. I'm sure he's a multi-millionaire.
Yeah, but they cut over 400 people as a means to cut costs.
Question is, does that include their trust and safety team?
I have no clue. I would hope so, because that's the main problem at Twitch right now is their trust and safety team. It was part of an Amazon layoff, which totaled over 9,000 across all their divisions.
That's impossible. What's funny is that, like, Elon comes into Twitter, right? And the trust and safety team is one of the first things to go. Maybe it wasn't one of the first, but it was one of the things to go. And it's like, he probably looked at it as like, how is this making us money? This is just a waste of money and a waste of time. And it's like, all these other social media sites should do the same. They should be like, what is trust? Every trust and safety team is just a censorship team.
Yeah.
It's just a screw over your actual content creators team.
Yeah, because most of these sites already had a team that was supposed to do this stuff. Most of them had community managers, right? Like before they had a separate trust and safety team. It was just the community management team.
And they presumably have some sort of legal division that can look at, okay, what speech is legal or what actions are legal and which are illegal. But that's really all they need to worry about. What's illegal? We'll get rid of that. But other than that, what do you need trust and safety for? What's funny is they just removed, when did this happen? What's the date on this? 12 hours ago. There's a Twitch streamer named Chica who just had a chicken going like this emoji removed.
Wow.
Because they called it says, based on review of its content, we've removed your emote Chica L from Twitch. Reason, disallowed content, targeted insults, bullying, and threatening or inciting abuse.
Yeah. We actually do have confirmation. Later in it, they do call him a him. So Emmett is a guy.
Oh, good.
I've never heard a girl named Emmett, but I wouldn't be shocked. He says the reason, as if you can ever trust the reason, but he says it's because his first child just was born, and he's been reflecting on his future with Twitch, and he's just like, Twitch often feels like a child to him that he's been raising, and it hasn't been growing up. So it's like Twitch is 16 years old to him. It's time to move on.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah. I mean, it could be his decision. Honestly, if I was in his position, I probably would want to leave too. Twitch. Because it doesn't seem like, if you're tired of it, if you think it's grown separate from you, and you're the CEO, so that means you have no actual control over this, or else you would have changed things by now, it might be time to leave. If I had no real control, I could control the executives, but clearly the trust and safety team or other parts of the company have more control over operations than I do. Why would I even want to be CEO anymore? Like, I'm just leave.
Yeah. Yeah, and interestingly, like, one of the things I've heard people say is that, like with Twitter, the only way to really shake things up and do things like get rid of the whole trust and safety team is to bring in a new CEO. Yeah. That's like the only way to do it. Now, I don't know that they're going to. They may bring in a CEO who's even worse, like YouTube just did.
Well, they just brought in Dan Clancy, who is their CEO. Previous served as the company's president prior to Cheer's departure, so he went from president to CEO, which means probably nothing's changing. You know, he probably already had more control than Cheer did anyway as the company president.
Yeah, you need to bring in someone from the outside if you really want to shake things up. That's the problem. It's weird that like in the last year, obviously Twitter has completely changed. YouTube changed its CEO. Twitch has now changed its CEO. Of course, I don't think YouTube and Twitch are going to change for the better.
I don't think at all. YouTube did just add a new feature that was pretty cool, because they're trying to integrate their apps, and they added a podcast feature to YouTube, where you can mark a playlist as a podcast, and YouTube will automatically set it for an audio-only version if you want to listen to it through YouTube Music.
Oh,
you keep up podcasts that way.
That's cool. Does it set up like an RSS feed, or do they do that?
I don't know about that.
Podcasts.
I haven't gotten that far into it. I haven't set up this show as a podcast. I was debating whether I was going to, since we used to actually run it as a podcast, but I always had to go in and manually clip off our loading and ending screens itself before uploading the audio version somewhere. And if I were to just set the playlist as a podcast that all these videos go into, it would include those opening and ending parts. But I could also just make a separate playlist of the clips.
Could you clip those?
I can clip them
in YouTube.
I think
so. Without having to like download
it.
Get
rid of the using the YouTube Studio Creators
editor.
app. Yeah, the editor. Like I could go in and clip them off. Typically, what happens though is that you save it as a new video. I think now you can edit a video as is. It would just, I think, also lose the chat if you did that. But people can see the chat on the screen for everything that happens during the show, because the video will still be there. Like on Spotify, if you want to watch the video, you can just choose to listen to it audio only.
Interesting.
So I'll figure out what we're doing. I have set a couple of my other stuff
look at that.
On other channels as podcasts. Yeah, you can go to youtube.com/podcasts and you can just see all of them.
That's different.
I have my book club on one of my channels I set up as a podcast, which I haven't touched that thing in a few years. I might get back into that. Book clubs are fun. And the mirror of my Newgrounds podcast within the Underpass, I set up as a podcast too. I think it'll help with growth too, because there's not a lot of people using the feature. I don't know if a lot of people will ever, from the creator end, I don't think a lot of creators will end up using the feature. Because a lot of people just don't pay attention to the stuff that YouTube adds. But I do think a lot of listeners will, because the YouTube Music app is a highly used app. It probably used more than the actual YouTube phone app is for video. More people watch. I think more people do watch video on the phone than they do on their computer. But even more people listen to music using the YouTube Music app, because a lot of people literally just want YouTube for music anyway. They go in to listen to music videos or whatever. So that'll probably be good for growth for audio predominant shows, predominantly audio shows.
Cool.
But that's, again, when has Twitch added anything? YouTube's always adding shit that makes it better. All Twitch ever does is hurt you. Yeah, let's change the UI. Let's move things around. Oh, we're gonna change your cut from like 70% to 50, or maybe 30. Maybe you only deserve 30. Like, they're always just like hurting their users. They're never actually even adding anything.
Yeah, other than tiny little changes to the chat interface, like
and now YouTube's doing all that stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah, though that's one thing I wish they would add to YouTube is the ability to reply to another chat. Don't think you can do that. No, you can't do that.
You can tag somebody, and that's for sure. But I don't think you can directly reply to a chat.
Yeah, in Twitch, you can directly reply, and you can create a thread in the chat. That's really cool. But not on.
I know a book you can
on Twitch.
Read. It was written by a Harvard-educated doctor, so you know his ideas are worth considering. If you're talking about Uncle Ted's book, I have read it before. I usually stick to fiction for a book club, but I have read the Unabomber Manifesto before. I'm familiar with what's in it.
I see. And then there's the Rumble chat, which is utter shit.
So Rumble, such a promising platform. From the
Yeah.
creator's end, I love it. It gives the creator
Oh,
everything
yeah.
it needs. You could jump straight in. From a user interface end, I fucking hate Rumble. And that's
It's
what's
awful.
stalling their growth. And I keep yelling at them like,
Yeah.
listen, you need to fix the user interface. And I will even
Mm-hmm.
use you, maybe even as my primary video thing. Like, because a lot of the people I watch also upload to Rumble. And it's like, I'll prefer to watch it over there. But your interface is shit.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't tag people
Nope.
in chat. I mean, you can write out their name, but it won't do anything. I mean, you know, all kinds of things. The scrolling and shit, and the video. Like if you go to a point in the video in the app, and then close the app and open it again, it won't go back to
Yeah,
the
it just
point in the
resets
video where you were. Yeah.
Yeah. And part of
Which is
that
horrible.
too is the way their player works, because they don't autoplay, which I actually think is a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you hate that things autoplay sometimes. Like I'll open like 3 videos in different tabs at once, and then I'll like go and pause each
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah, I do that too.
So they're ready and they're not autoplaying when I jump to that tab. But also, because they don't autoplay, they don't use a cached system, and that's why they lose their place. They don't know where you were in the video. YouTube, with the way that it autoplays, it just has you cached at 0000, and then it plays from there. And then if you leave off anywhere else, they know the timestamp of where you were. So it's like there's a lot of things that Rumble needs to do to improve their interface.
Interestingly, so like Ricada has a theory, which sounds reasonable, that they basically took bits and pieces from different like public GitHub projects and stuff like that, like their chat, because their chat censors certain words, and they didn't even know. Like he went to the Rumble headquarters and was like, "Why does your chat censor fuck and this cunt and things like that?" And you know, words that Flit likes to say, and they were like, "We don't know." We were like, "We didn't know that it did that." And then he showed them, and sure enough, it censors it, and it's because it's code that they just borrowed, that's publicly available, that they integrated in. So they need to build their own shit from scratch. I applied, by the way, at Rumble and got rejected.
Because it seems like, you got rejected. Well, the problem is, like, I've looked at it. It doesn't seem like they have very talented programmers over there. Like, they've got people who know how to program.
Well,
but it does seem like they're just piecemealing. Like, they're not very creative people that are solving problems on their own.
Not to be a programming snob or anything, but they use MySQL on the back end. Like, well, really? I was like, at least use Postgre or MongoDB or something. Like MySQL.
Dude, I've hated almost every site, because most things that use MySQL, it's on the site. Like you can see like the little icon for it, like at the bottom corner of the site when you scroll down.
Oh well, at least they took
like
that out. Yeah.
They tell you most sites that they use on the back end, and I've hated most sites that use it. Very few exceptions of people who are like really creative and they learn how to use it in ways that most people don't. But like, no.
Well, and apparently it's the same servers that Locals is on, I guess.
Yeah. So that gives me a very bad view of Locals, just knowing
it's apparently, I mean, I don't know if it's related, but Scott Adams's Locals stream this morning completely died and he could not get it to come back up. And I'm like, and the thing is, he live streams at the same time that Steven Crowder just started streaming on Rumble.
No, uses the Rumble live player, like in the video player.
Yeah,
like, it is that.
Well, what I'm wondering is if their database got overloaded because, you know, Steven Crowder's first stream back on, for real on Rumble,
and he
may have overloaded. Numbers. Yeah. I don't know if it was related at all, but it was weird that for the first time in forever, Scott Adams' local live stream wasn't working this morning. So they got some major problems from front end to back. And I told them, guys, I was like basically offering to be a database programmer, database administrator, whatever they need on the back end, because I'm not really a front end guy.
Yeah.
And maybe I asked for too much, or maybe
Because front end's mostly interface, and
I'm like,
that's a
I know, and
yeah.
I'm like, guys, I have 24, 23, 24 years of experience with this shit. Mostly database work or back end, programming. And it's like, and they're just like, nah.
Well, like I
You
feel
don't want
like,
an interview or anything? I was like,
even though
really?
I do say
None of
like
my resume.
their creator options and stuff like that is pretty good compared to other ones. It's still very sloppy, right? Like, and even looking at the user interface, I can only guess their back end has issues too. Because it's like when you go to the creator page, like some of these things should just be in the same tab. Like there should be less tabs that where you just get more stuff done in the tab. And I feel like that's probably all back end issues because they probably have all this stuff separated when it shouldn't be.
My guess is that they're really concentrating on revamping the front end.
Yeah.
But if they don't basically do the same thing on the back end at the same time, they're gonna regret it down the road.
Yeah, yeah.
So
you got to just
offered my
revamp
considerable
everything at once
services.
because that's
Yeah.
spaghetti code is a real problem that we see, and
I
a
mean,
lot of that comes from just doing piecemeal updates at different times and keeping old things in, and then not knowing which ones to get rid of later on.
Yeah. Frankly, I'd be going in there advocating get rid of MySQL, so maybe that's what they were afraid of. Because I told them, I was like, I have a little experience with MySQL, but not a lot. I was like, I have a lot of experience with anything from Oracle if they wanted to go total, very expensive route, to Postgre if they wanted to do
if
free.
you want to work with Oracle, you definitely need to have like somebody who's really experienced with it. I've seen that stuff. It is complicated.
Yeah, I've worked with Oracle on Unix. For years. Jesus, I wouldn't recommend it for a website, but
Yeah, but you could do it. Yeah.
Yeah. If they have a shit ton of money. The one company that I worked with that spent ridiculous amounts of money on Oracle servers was a health management company. I was like, oh yeah, they got a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, they could be doing this for 1/100th the price. But,
yeah. I don't know. I don't know if Rumble's gonna get fixed. I'm holding out. Twitch has a competitor too. That I actually learned of watching Destiny because he's going to be streaming on Rumble and Kick. I don't know if you've seen Kick, but Kick is basically just Twitch, right? It is a different design, but like functionality, it's just like a Twitch clone. Like
is it like KIK?
KICK, not the other old Kick, like the
I was going to say
no. It like
I know what Kick is.
Kick, a different Kick.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Kick was like a.
Yeah, I remember.
Sort of like Twitter, or was it?
It was kind of like a Twitter Snapchat thing, right? Like
Snapchat. Yeah, it was more like Snapchat. I think.
It was like Snapchat, but it had a lot of Twitter-like functionality in it because it was a lot of messaging people, like message me on Kick.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, no, not that Kick. That Kick I think is basically dead.
Huh. Kick for streaming.
Yeah,
never heard of that.
KICK. If I type it in, probably still in my kick.com. And
who's on
it's Destiny was where I saw. I was watching a clip from his channel, and it's just Twitch. Like if you look at it, you're like, this is just Twitch. It's a different. It's like green and black, whatever, which I think is a good color scheme for the internet. But like the way their dashboard is, the way the layout, like it just looks like a different Twitch. And I'm sure that's probably a good start because similar to a bunch of people who jumped on DLive. People just want something that functions like Twitch, something that's simple. Maybe they'll start adding in the things that they want. So I think that might be an okay alternative. I don't know much about it now though, so I can't really rate it.
Well, the number one category is slots and casino.
Oh yeah.
And number 4 is pools, hot tubs, and bikinis.
Well, at least that's not number 1 though.
Yeah.
And there's 2 categories in between them. So.
Oh my God, these descriptions are graphic.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it seems to be the more open thing where a lot of people who have been fleeing Twitch have been going there. So like if you're somebody who Twitch has basically been making your income non-viable because of the content that you do, then people have been jumping there, which can only tell you the type of content you might see there.
Well, they've got Beach House Bikini Yoga, so
Beach
works
House
for me.
Bikini Yoga.
Apparently. Oh my God. Okay, we're not gonna watch that right now.
Yeah, some crazy news, right? Oh, something I didn't even see coming because I thought people would just like reject it outright. Netflix's ad tier has reportedly reached 1 million subscribers, and 20% of all new signups to the service have been opting in for this cheaper offering. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. I don't think the difference that you're paying is worth me having to watch ads. I can't believe people are actually signing up for this shit.
How much cheaper is it?
Not free. That's the thing for me. If I'm gonna have to watch ads, I don't want to pay for it.
Well, now that I've like removed, like Netflix is the only, well, Netflix and Amazon Prime, but that doesn't count. Netflix is the only thing that I pay for, and I pay for the whole full 4K package because I'm like, man, I want stuff to look awesome. But that's interesting.
$7.
God,
it's $7 for the ad tier. That is definitely not cheap enough to have to watch ads.
what is it, 10 or something for regular?
Yeah, it's something
12?
really close.
Yeah.
It's not even half the cost. I think it's like half the cost of the higher tier because I think it's like or close to. It's like $15 for the 4K or whatever. But it's like,
I mean, I can look mine up.
it's like,
Interesting.
listen, Netflix. You already do some things that make me just want to pirate half your content anyway. If your ad tier is not free, there's no way I'm paying for it. I'd rather just go back to piracy. And now we're paying for the normal tier, but that's because I live with other people. Otherwise, I would literally, literally just be sailing the high seas for all this stuff.
Oh yeah. Okay, so basic with ads is $7 a month. Basic is 10. $3 off.
That's no, not worth it. The only reason I watched, like you're talking about other services, Roku does a lot of this. I watched Roku's Weird Al movie, right? And I didn't pirate that or anything because it's like, it had ads, but it was free. It's like, okay, I'll watch your commercials for basically, this is just the old TV agreement that I had all my life. It's like, I'll watch your commercials. That's no problem. I'm not paying for it. I mean, I was paying for normal cable service, or my parents were, but that came with all the channels. Or if we were watching on air, that was the same deal. It's like, I paid for my TV, and I'm paying for the video by watching the commercials. That's our deal. That's what we're doing.
I tell you though, and I told you this before, the one thing that drove me crazy was Hulu
Doing both.
on their, I don't think they have an ad-free version.
They
At least
used to years ago.
Did they?
Yeah.
Maybe they did, but I
long
wasn't
ago.
paying for it.
Long ago, they had a free version with advertisements on it, like that would come in. And you couldn't watch like movies, or like maybe occasionally a movie would end up on the free version, but it was like selected seasons of shows. South Park was one of the ones where you could watch like the whole South Park on there because of the deal that they had, and you just watched ads. Technically, you could still watch South Park for free, even though Hulu doesn't do a free ad-supported version anymore. They just do like a cheaper ads version. But I think actually all versions have ads now, unless you pay like a super premium thing. You could go to southpark.cc.com and you could still get that old Hulu integrated experience where you're just watching ads to pay for it, which is how I watch South Park. So it still exists. It's just for like partnerships.
There is a. I guess I was paying for the ad-supported one, but God, it was annoying. It was ads every like 5 minutes. It was ridiculous.
But that
one's $8. So that one's $8 a month. I guess if I'd been paying $15 a month, that's the ad-free version.
Yeah, but it used to be where like the $8 was the premium version and it was free with ads. They like bumped everything up. I forget what year it happened. It was probably like 2015 or something. But it's like I used to use Hulu free for a long time. It's like, Now, that was only for the website, right? You always had to have some version of premium to use it on the apps because that was how the login worked. But if you were using it in your browser, that's where the free with ads version existed.
If you're a student, you can get ad-supported Hulu for $2 a month. I don't know how you prove that, or how they would disprove it if you just like forged
they have
a
like
student
college logins and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. But if it was two with
the
ads,
days
like
of-
maybe I'd pay $2, $2 or $3 a month with ads. That
Yeah.
I'd still rather it be free, but that's a lot more reasonable than making you pay $7 or $8 to still have to see commercials.
Yeah. Oh my god.
And yet 1 million people have already signed up for this on Netflix.
And if you want Hulu plus live TV plus Disney Plus and ESPN, they're charging $83 jeez, a month. It's like, might as well just get cable. Jesus.
No, here's something that's an insane cost. You remember Gerard, the completionist?
Mm-hmm.
Right, yeah. So he recently decided, since the eShops are going down, that he was going to buy every single Wii U and 3DS eShop game. Every one. And it cost him $23,000 to do so.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Was he able to add money to his account?
I
weird.
don't know. I think he's already been doing this for a while.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a
And-
completionist thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Where'd he put them all? I mean, I guess he must
On
have
SD
swapped
cards,
out
but
SD cards. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of them. It was
How was it $23,000?
for the Wii U. It took a total of 1.2 terabytes of space, so that's a lot of cards. With the, I think the Wii U had a 64 gig limit for an SD card.
That can't be.
And I think the 3DS it's even smaller. It's like, I think it's a 32 gig limit. The Wii U might have been higher, but the DS I know is pretty small. But also they have smaller games. Most of the Wii U's limit.
Oh my god. Well, Wii U's limit was 32 gigs.
32. Oh my god, it was smaller than I thought. Okay, I think it might be the same as the 3DS then.
3DS
actually-
it says 32. It's the
Yeah,
same.
I know that one I knew was 32. I have a 32 gig in there.
Yeah. Wow.
When you actually look at it, believe it or not, they're basically running on the same operating system.
Right. Yeah.
The Switch is like an upgrade to the 3DS operating system, but when people started comparing, it's like, oh, the Wii U operating system is basically the 3DS operating system. They were, or vice versa.
Yeah.
The 3DS is the Wii U operating system. They just kind of modified it to work on a 2-screen. I mean, it is a 2-screen machine, the Wii U, so it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And the Switch can hold up to 2 terabytes.
Yeah, the huge jump.
Amazing.
But
32 gigs. That would have been. He must have had like 50, something like that.
1.2
insane.
terabytes. Yeah.
Wow.
And the 3DS games. So there was, and that's only for 866 Wii U games. To be that 1.2, the 3DS
Yeah,
had
38
38,
SD cards.
had 1,547 games on the 3DS, and it was obviously a lot lower because 3DS games are smaller than Wii U games. At 267 gigs.
Well, that's only 9
Yeah.
SD cards. It probably took more than that because I'm sure he couldn't fill them up like perfectly. But
Yeah. But that was, whew. It includes all the DSiWare and Virtual Console games, as well as DLC.
that seems low.
Yeah.
That seems low for the 3DS. Only 200. What was it? 200 and something gigs.
67. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Doesn't seem like a
1,500
lot.
games.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, like one modern game could be bigger than that
Yeah.
alone.
Oh God. Try to fit Arc on your 3DS.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like, what is Arc up to? 300 gigs, 400 gigs? It was insane.
Yeah, that's if you want all the
Yeah.
latest stuff.
DSP moment. So he got them all. Is he going to play them all? I mean,
I have no clue.
oh.
But basically he did it as an archive, right?
Yeah.
And it also gave him a bunch of coins because all those purchases were still giving you eShop points. So he said he was going to use all of those coins to invest into indie titles on the Switch. I'm like, good on you. I'm just going to buy a bunch of indies. Yeah.
Yeah, that must be a lot of free games that he could get. I mean,
I'd
get
have
those
to go
gold.
and find the tweet, but he did actually say how many coins that he had.
Wow. I think every coin is a penny.
Yeah.
I believe. But you can get, if you buy a $60 game, you'll get like $5 or something, or $3, like 300 coins or something.
Yeah, because you normally see it in amounts of hundreds, though you can have like leftover where it only shows like 60 left or whatever after spending it.
Yeah. Oh, by the way,
Yeah.
Speaking of which, platinum points are the free ones that you get by doing things like opening up the eShop once a week and stuff like that.
Yeah. You can actually go to mynintendo.com and they can show you all the rewards you get from it.
Yeah, and God, I have so many platinum points that expired because I just never used them.
Always.
But I just got, because it's just, I don't know if it's still available, but there was a Metroid Dread pin set that I ordered for 800 platinum points, and I actually had to do a few missions to get the extra ones. I was like, man, I thought I had more than that, and I look back, it was like every month I've been losing them. So
yeah, no, I guarantee you that the only ones I have in my account are the ones that never expire, which is like a low amount. Yeah, I've got 40 platinum coins, and it's here, let me get 50. I see me running across the screen. Let me click on that. Oh, no, sorry, it's plus 30 now. When it first started up, they only gave you plus 10 for that one, but weekly sign-in is plus 30, so that gives me 70 platinum points. I had like a few like 1,000 at one point in time, and they were the ones that expired.
Yeah,
I just haven't touched it forever.
I think they expire like 2 years after you get them. It's terrible. I don't know why. And the worst part is
that there were different ones, right? So it's like, oh, here are the Animal Crossing Pocket Camp only platinum points, and it's like,
yeah. Well, I can if you do have My Nintendo points, if you're in the My Nintendo, website or whatever program, yeah, that's the word I was looking for. The Metroid Prime Remastered Big Pin Set is still available for 800 points.
I have not opened.
I'll have to wear a Metroid pin when it gets here.
Prime hoodie looks great. I know I definitely couldn't get it, and it's probably all gone because it's an enter. You have to have platinum points to enter the contest, but still.
Oh, it's a contest.
Yeah. Enter a chance to win an out-of-the-world prize pack. You can redeem 10 platinum points. Oh, I can enter all 3 times because you can enter up to 3 times. For when's the deadline? Has it already passed? No, it looks like it's still active. I might go and do that after the show. And it comes with like a poster and a hoodie, and I might enter that. Yeah, that's cool. I'll forget.
Well, anyway, nobody wants to hear about this. What else we got on the?
What else we got?
Docket.
So visual novel on Steam. My brother actually sent this to me, and then I saw it again on going through the articles. There's a Steam visual novel that claims to help you prepare for the tax season. Have you seen this?
Oh,
it's called Tax Haven 3000. It's a dating visual novel with the expected anime aesthetic.
Of course.
And the waifu in there.
Pay attention.
Is walking you through the 2022 is the tax season because we're doing it for last year. The 2022 tax season and filing and stuff like that, and that's like the whole experience in there. So,
by the way, I just last week got my return or got my refund because I filed like February 1st.
See, I saw this and my immediate response was Dan Versus. And where the model came up to his door saying like, "Hi, you must be Dan. I'm your new neighbor." It's like the smoking hot model. He's like, "I don't care who the IRS sends. I'm not paying my taxes." And he just slams the door on her. That was like my immediate response to this.
I said anime waifu to come collect your taxes. So what does it do? Like walk you through how to do deductions and stuff? I mean,
Yeah, it's like a normal visual novel, so there's like options and stuff like that, and it's like this pink-haired anime chick in front of you.
all right, what is it called? Because I'm going to put this in the title
called,
for this.
Tax Haven 3000. Yeah, LOL, imagine paying taxes. That's what I'm saying. I mean, this could be a good alternative for people who want to get that experience of doing their taxes, but don't actually want to pay their taxes, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You want to feel like everybody's talking about filing their tax return. You want to feel like you're part of the crowd, but you don't actually want to pay your taxes. You're like, yeah. Me and this chick did my taxes last week. It was pretty fly.
I don't know what to put. Let's say Tax Haven 3000, and then a description: waifus plus your civic duty.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Your name is Iris, which is obviously a play on words for IRS.
Iris, oh, that's good. Yeah.
The gameplay video on the top of the Steam page features Iris asking the player something really personal, their social security number.
It's great.
I don't know. This feels. I feel like the Fed's involved in this somewhere. I don't know. This seems like a glow op to me. I don't trust you, Iris. I mean, sure, they already have our social security numbers, but what other information are they trying to get from us?
That's right. Does the game actually ask you to put that in there?
It says it's in the video. I haven't actually watched it.
Like at the end of the game, does it actually submit your taxes? That's the question.
No clue. The only thing I really know of it is my brother sent me like a tweet that had screenshots of it, and then I started reading this article.
You obviously haven't done your research. Now I need you to play the game.
I'm not doing my taxes.
See if it does your taxes for you.
Like there's things like Iris is asking, "I'm so glad you came. It's exciting meeting someone new, don't you think? Especially when and then you get to put like when I'm filing singly, I'm filing jointly, I'm what?" And then he's like, "Well, I'm filing singly this year. You know, what about you?" Listen, if I was doing my taxes and I saw a hot chick across from me, of course I'd always say I'm filing singly, whether that's true or not. You gotta let them know the door's open.
It says visual novel dating game that actually prepares your 2022 U.S. federal tax return.
Oh my god. This is just the new version of TurboTax.
Yeah. Except it's been removed. For some reason it's been removed from Steam. Interesting.
Probably because it was a game that was collecting actual personal information.
I know. It's like, going to the game, it's like, wait, you want me to put in my actual social security number?
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute. Is this secure?
Yeah. I hope you don't think it's weird, but maybe we could go over your federal filing together and review it before it's ready to send to the IRS.
I mean, if Intuit built this into their website where you could actually like switch to this view where a waifu takes you through, I would have done it. It's like, it would have made it a lot more interesting.
Oh god.
Especially she's like, ooh, if you deduct this, I'll take off my jacket.
There's a screen that looks like you're over like a smart printer, right? Like the type that you use in an office, similar to the one that I have. And it's we'll do it together at whatever pace you're comfortable with. And it shows like a translucent hand that's supposed to be yours and her hand over it, and she's got like little hearts on it. Like, oh god, it's horrible. It's funny. It's hilarious, but it's like horrible.
That's funny. It says it's written from the point of view of Iris and is largely a rant against the infuriatingly complex tax filing process in the U.S. That's great.
It's a dry run for TurboTax, Flit says. They see how much weebs spend on anime statues and decide they needed a cut of that dosh.
There you go. I imagine like tax preparation software has to be like very thoroughly vetted.
Oh yeah. I think
don't know
Steam
if
just
it
let it
has to
on
be-
because they thought it was just a game. And then when they
Yeah.
found out that it was collecting personal information, I wouldn't be surprised if that's why it got taken down.
So yeah, it says it is not available on Steam. However, they have a website where I think you can download it, and they're planning to launch April 4th on itch.io. So there you go. As a free, it's free. What more could you ask for?
The article I'm reading too is like, well, we hope this goes without saying. We definitely do not recommend putting any sensitive personal information into this random Steam game, especially not your social security number.
Yeah. Hey, you can get a collector's edition, which comes with a software box, disc, and an Iris body pillow.
I would say this
So there you
again
go.
would be a great software if some actual filing agency had it on their website.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they should have tried to do like a partnership with, Intuit or somebody.
Intuit,
And,
any of them. There's so many different ones they could have reached
That's
out
what I
to.
use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you start with one, they say no, and then you go down the list until somebody finally says yes.
I mean, be like, this will drive traffic to your site, and
Eventually, they make
it'll
it to
still do the
H&R
taxes.
Block, who H&R
Yeah, there
Block
you
was
go.
already trying to get people in by having fairly attractive women being most of who they hired. So it's
Oh,
like,
really?
Yeah, I don't know. Every time I've passed an H&R Block, it's always like definitely in their mid to late 20s because they're people who've been through college to do this stuff, but it's always like 70% women in there. And all of them are fairly attractive. They're between like 6 to 7s, right? They're not going to get like anything higher than that in there. But it's just like, man, your hiring practices. Like, I understand why you're doing it. It's probably borderline breaking some type of like hiring practice mandate or whatever. But I get why you're doing it.
It's fine. It'll be fine.
How can you trick so many women into wanting that career, though? Maybe
That is a good question.
Do you know how many people have met their husband filing their taxes? That's probably how they got them in there in the first place.
Yeah.
A lot of single guys come in here. A lot of single guys filing on their own.
Man, it is taxheaven3000.com has its own website. It's all half in Japanese. Like, what the hell? Okay. All right. Yeah. Oh my God. Seriously, the collector's edition comes with a real body pillow. That's crazy. Flit, get on it. I know you want it.
Why would Flit do that? So he
don't-
doesn't file taxes.
Well, for the body pillow, of course.
Well, in other news, GameStop
Seems like
turns
a weed.
profit for the first time in 2 years after major layoffs.
Oh, I was going to say, like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Oh. That's interesting. I wonder if Camelot is going to... Camelot 331 does all kinds of GameStop coverage.
Yeah.
I think he talked about the layoffs, but it's actually a surprise that they actually managed to turn that into profit. I guess it's not too surprising.
48.2 million for the fourth quarter of the fiscal year.
It's not like they're giving people, what do you call it? Severance pay, right?
Oh, yeah.
I highly doubt it.
For most people
Like
who get
one of
laid
them-
off, they're basically part-time workers.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like hourly, right? So, I mean,
Yeah. I think... I'm trying to think, because I've had a lot of friends who've worked at GameStop. I don't think you actually get up to salary until you hit, not even like assistant manager. Like, there's like this. A lot of GameStops are store owner / manager, right? Because they're like the key holder. They go in half with the building for the franchise. And then there's like actual managers underneath that. I think like you don't actually get salary until you get that manager position.
And there's like district managers, right?
Oh yeah, there's obviously things above that, but like in a store, I don't think you actually get salary until you get that manager.
I didn't think they did franchising. I thought that they were all 100% owned by the company at this point.
It's weird. So a lot of them are corporately owned, and some of them, it's like a half thing for the building. That's like the one in Cedar Hill, Texas, which is the one I went to for the longest time. The guy who runs it there, Mike, is like a co-owner of the store.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, good for them, I guess. Maybe their stock price will go back up again.
Maybe. Who knows, man. Oh my god.
For the record, I never invested in GameStop. I did the AMC thing and ended up making like $1,000 in a week. It was great. That works.
But we made it to the end of the show. I guess on one last note, we won't even talk about it, just to send you off on it. Ubisoft is now using an AI tool for writing in its games.
Neat.
I think it's just for NPCs, which is fine. Like if you want to create some type of procedurally generated trigger so that NPCs don't seem bland saying the same thing all the time. I'm like, you know what? That is a excellent use of this editor program called Ghostwriter, which is also a perfect name for the program. Is Ghostwriter.
So is it generating instantly while you play the game, or do they just pre-generate a bunch of predetermined?
At this point, it's pre-generating, right? But they can generate such a large amount that they should find a way to build it in so that they can continuously do that. But you have less control over that because then you can't have somebody else go through and filter out some like really bad things that the AI said in the game. But this lets you just
you start talking to
a fuck ton, and then just check off the ones you don't want.
Without having to pay someone, they should build like Chat GPT into a game, and it's like you're talking to an NPC, and suddenly it goes off on some tangent,
and wants to marry you.
Or just like goes off on a political rant about something crazy. Who knows? But that's an interesting thing to look forward to in games. It's less tedium with the NPCs at least. And with that, thank you all for watching the show. If you enjoyed it, please share it with somebody else. Force them down to watch it. We'll all have a good time together. And if you really enjoyed it, consider giving a donation to streamlabs.com/Vomitorium Live. Really helps us out. We'll see you guys in the next episode. See ya.